Here, contractor employee HSE, contractor employee HSE, contractor employee HSE. Please, for the sake of those of us that are using, that are turning on our video, please, we will encourage you to put off your video now. You can put up the video afterwards. Contractor. Okay, so contractor employee HSE, there are basically three keywords there: contractor, employee, and HSE. Contractor, employee, and HSE. Those are the three keywords there: contractor, employee, and HSE. Contractor, employee, and HSE. Of course, we know what contractor means. We know what employee means. Then we know what HSE also means. So we are going to be looking at how contractors need to take responsibility in managing the safety of their employees while carrying out projects, while carrying out businesses, while carrying out activities. All right. So the contractor has safety agreement with the organization that awarded the contract. The contractor has a responsibility to ensure that those safety agreements are followed up. So he has to empower his staff, empower his employees to ensure that those safety requirements, those safety practices, safety standards are met. All right, very, very important. So without wasting time, every other day we hear of so many things happening around. Today is no longer the oil and gas alone. So we hear gas explosions, we hear industry accidents. Recently, we had a protest. I was in Jos earlier today, and I saw some invasions, some destructions around there. Those are part of safety concerns or things that should call for safety concerns in our workplaces. Okay. When it comes to oil and gas, every aspect of oil and gas is delicate. Okay. And we are also trying to create that orientation to that when it comes to business management, every angle of business management that makes business excellent, make business a high-performing business, they are also delicate and need to be taken, critical attention need to be put into it to make sure that we don't have to suffer from reputational damages or end up having crisis and all of that. So just like the oil patch is a dangerous place, we need to realize that it is not only the oil and gas sector in this area that is a dangerous place. Now, if you take construction, for example, yes, someone could say a gas explosion could cripple a whole community, but at the same time, a mechanical accident could also lead to death. The only thing is that the death would be minimal. So the impact of oil and gas accident could be higher than non-oil and gas accidents, right? But that notwithstanding, we have to pay attention to all of this. Now, last year, a friend of mine who happened to be an engineer was doing a project. There was a WHO project in Ibadan. And that project, they are constructing bridges, yes. And he was the project manager involved. And he told me that someone actually ran through, whether the young man was drunk or not, they could not really say. But the young man ran through some areas that have not been worked on, and his bike, yes, his bike somersaulted over the area, and then the only place he could land was a pavement, and that was his death. Okay, that was his death. So the question was, were there safety lockout systems were there safety signages to show the person that, okay, this happened in the night anyway? So were there safety lockout systems? Were there safety signages that could have told the person that, yes, this place is under construction, don't go there? Okay. I think that project, after the incident, they were stopped for some months, and they had to carry out a safety audit over the site and then before the resume. But it wasn't a function of safety audit. The safety of a site like that shouldn't be reactionary. It should be proactive. Okay, so were there lockout systems in place? Were there safety signages in place? In fact, at a situation like that, such sites need to be, there should be diversions. So the question was, or the question should be, were there safety diversions to guide the people? What if I was new in town and I don't know there was anything like road construction or bridge construction, and I had to pass through there, and now you have formed a ditch and I have to enter into the ditch and it cost me my life? Who will bear the consequences of such? Is it me that was driving that was not aware of such a thing, or is it the contractor that didn't put safety consideration into place while carrying out such contracts? So safety consideration as regards to oil and gas, safety consideration as regards to contractor employees HSE shouldn't just be a consign to oil and gas alone. All right. Okay. So in today's discussion, we'll be looking at how we can continuously and reliably improve contractor safety performance, and then we'll look at what is a performance focus versus compliance focus. Then we'll look at the elements of practical performance systems and what are straightforward tools for implementing them. And then how can these issues be integrated into a contractor program? These are all of the things we are going to be looking at here. Somebody asked a question yesterday about how do we know leading indicators, and how do we know trailing indicators? And I told the person that we are going to be dealing with that today. So I trust Mr. Clement should be in this class. I do. Okay. Why should we be concerned with employee safety? Number one, safety is a good business. It's the right thing to do because it improves employee morale and protects your most valuable resource, which are your employees. And it also helps you to control costs, which could be direct cost or indirect costs. The cost of fines, the cost of insurance, the cost of legal apprehensions, those costs will be reduced if safety is put in place. The cost of damages would be taken into consideration, or the cost of damages will be controlled if safety of employees are made paramount. Now, in Nigeria, we've had protests over the last 2-3 weeks, and within the protest, there were quite a lot of damages that had impacted greatly on the economy. Now, the problem or the basic reason why the protest continued even after the NSAS and police reform was initiated was that the government or the country has suffered from the clause of bad governance since 1914, if not before then. So the prolonging of the protest was due to the fact that people were clamoring not just for the police reform now, or not for the NSAS again, but for the total overhauling of the Nigerian leadership system. And one of the areas they mentioned about was youth involvement in politics. They spoke about digitalizing the electioneering process, like the voting process. They talked about godfatherism in politics and all of those things. Now, the cost, the Calabar state government or Cross River state government rather, he said it will cost them billions to reform or perhaps to repair all the damages that were done in Calabar and River State, Cross River State as a whole. Now, the issue is, if there was a proactive safety system that should have handled these issues before coming, we won't be where we are today. The truth is, if Nigeria had put up a good electioneering process, we won't be where we are today. If Nigeria has included youths in governance, we won't be where we are today. If we weren't having intimidation on youth who were interested in politics, okay, we won't be where we are today. Okay, so let's take, for instance, somebody like Sowore mentioned about coming out for president and all of that. He led a protest and he was imprisoned. He was imprisoned for months. Okay, he was imprisoned for months. And that's not supposed to be so. These people are not fighting about tribe. They are not fighting about religion. They are not fighting about ethnicity. They are fighting about the governance. They are telling government, let's make governance better. So if you look at contractor employee HSE as respect to Nigerian government, the Nigerian government or the people who put there, they are the contractors. We are the contractees. You are the ones that awarded the contract to them. So there had been a whole lot of deviation from what had been expected of them. So if now somebody saying Lagos State needs 1 trillion naira according to the government there, they need 1 trillion naira. Now take another look at the palliative. I said something yesterday. Before now, or before the advent of discovery of palliatives, when government said they spent 75 billion to feed all Nigerians, it sounded like, what are they trying to say? Because some of us never saw anything. I mean, when I say some of us, I mean in the entire local government, we didn't hear of anything because we are privileged to be or to hear things when such things happen. We are privileged to know people who they know and they should tell us, since you people are the ones dealing with people, okay, tell people to come. We didn't hear. So when they mentioned 75 billion, it sounded like, what sort of thing is that? Okay, but with the discovery of palliatives in the midst of the NSAS process was a clear indication that the 75 billion, if not all was spent, a few billions were spent, or a few hundreds of millions were spent to feed the whole nation. But what happened? The contractor, those people we call contractors that we gave power to become contractors over the affairs of the nation, they hoarded it. And why should they hoard it? The one that is still baffling me is the one that a House of Rep member said that he wanted to share the palliatives during his birthday. What concern, was it because of your birthday that COVID-19 came? Was it because of your birthday that the palliatives were given to you to distribute to your ward? So if you look at contractor employee safety programs, it's not just oil and gas. It's basically in everything we do. If you look at a home that is always having issues, check the contractor employee safety program. It's always the father is having issue with the mother, or the wife is having issue with the husband. Check the reason. There must be some disagreement. There must be some depths of disagreement, which could have been handled by simple maybe communication or identification of such things and dealing with them before they come up. Okay, so contractor employee safety program is not only to oil and gas, but remember, we pay attention to oil and gas because of the delicateness, because of the dangerous nature of the oil and gas facility. All right. Okay, so safety and health excellence correlate with business excellence as regards to quality, efficiency, profitability. It also protects the reputation of the company. Goodwill from the community would mean fewer confrontations and delays. Why have a contractor safety program? Why should we bother about having a contractor safety program? Why should we bother having a contractor safety program? Because it is good business and the right thing to do. It protects your employees, protects your contractors and the public, protects equipment and the environment, reduces insurance costs, limits your exposure to potentially ruinous lawsuits and fines. Now, some of the costs that could be accrued in the event of accident, we could have direct or insured cost, or indirect and uninsured hidden cost or out-of-pocket costs. So examples of direct costs, we have legal fees and settlements. We have higher insurance rates. We have cost of cleanup for environmental releases, fines for occupational health and safety administration violations and environmental violations. Then for the indirect cost, we have time lost from work by injured employee. Then we have lost time by fellow employees, loss of efficiency due to breakup of crew, lost time by supervisors, training costs for new and replacement workers, damage to tools and equipment, time damaged equipment is out of service, loss of production for remainder of the day, damage from accident like fire, water, chemical explosives, and so on, failure to meet deadlines, overhead costs, why work was disrupted, and all of these things. So it is better we initiate contractor employee safety programs just for the purpose of ensuring that there is efficiency, there is effectiveness, and there is goodwill in all that is being done. Now, quickly, what are some of the contractor services in the oil field? Remember, I said this class was initially scheduled, especially for those in oil and gas, right? So we are possibly going to be dealing more with oil and gas terms and technologies here. So our oil and gas well drilling and services is part of the major group in standard industrial classification and includes drilling oil and gas wells, oil and gas field exploration services, and oil and gas field services. So these are areas where contractors could have contracts to work with. So it could be gas wells, it could be exploration services, it could be field services, right? Production rigs versus workover rigs. So, or production rigs or workover rigs. What is it all about? And what are the possible hazards that could be associated with production rigs or workover rigs? Production rigs or workover rigs involving rotary pumps, pits, and auxiliaries to permit handling and working a drill string. Examples of maintenance activities associated with well when using these devices include removing the hose head, removing the well head, pulling and running rod, pulling and running tubing. All of these are part of the activities involved around production rigs or workover rigs, and they are on themselves their own levels of hazard. So if you look at this place, you could see some of the things we are talking about. You could see the tubings, you could see the well heads, you could see other things associated. You could see the drills, okay. You could see the hose, like if you check 9, 10, what do you call the other one? 10, 9, 8. You see the hose as it goes. You see the pulleys that hold the hose. You see the well heads. You see the tubings that are being run. Okay, so you could see the tubes, 28 example of a tube. Okay, and all of this operation. This is a skeletal diagram of what happens on a rig. Okay, or production rig. This is just a skeletal diagram of what happens on a rig, right? And all of these things, as you see here, they are potential hazards from 1 to 26. Okay, they are all potential hazards. 28. Okay, from 1 to 28, they are all potential hazards. The stage, the where the crude oil is being deposited, where the crude oil is being drilled from, the tubings for the crude oil, the ladders, and the lifts, the pulleys that are being used. They are all hazardous on themselves. Okay. Okay. So from what we just saw there, what are the possible hazards we can see? We could see hazards, example, struck by, which could be by falling or moving pipes, tongues and or spinning chain, Kelly, rotary table, and so on. A high pressure hose connection failure causing employees to be struck by wiping hose, then tools or debris dropped from elevated locations in rig and vehicles also. We can be struck by vehicles. Another hazard could be caught in or in between. It could be caught in or in between collars and tongues, spinning chains, pipes, clothing gets caught in rotary table or drill ring. Then you have fire explosion or explosion or high pressure release, which could be from well blowout, drilling, or tripping out or swabbing, and so on, resulting in release of gas, which might be ignited if not controlled at the surface. Welding and cutting near combustible materials, uncontrolled ignition sources near the wellhead. Example, heater in the doghouse, unapproved or poorly maintained electrical equipment, above ground detonation of perforating gun. All of this could lead to a fire or explosion or high pressure release. Then we'll have other hazards like rig collapse. Okay, the whole rig collapse, which could be a product of overloading beyond the rate capacity of the rig, improper anchoring or guying, then improper raising and lowering of the rig, existing maintenance issues with the rig structure, which impacts the integrity. Then we'll have falls. It could be fall from elevated areas of the rig, that is stabbing board, monkey board, sorry, that should be stabbing board rather, stabbing board, monkey board, ladder, etc. from rig floor. Then we'll have the hydrogen sulfide exposure. Hydrogen sulfide release due to or during drilling, swabbing, perforating operations, etc., resulting in employee exposures, production tank gauging operations, gaugers sometimes exposed to hydrogen sulfide. So all of this could be some of the major identified hazards associated with a rig. Okay, associated with a rig. All right. Now, quickly, let's look at what compliance is all about. Let's look at what compliance is all about. Compliance should not be hard to do. Without compliance from the federal or state, we could also have the EPA, the Environment Protection Association or agency rather, Environmental Protection Agency rather, which could also be federal or state. So in essence, compliance are the rules and regulations that have been raised by regulatory authorities to guide us in the things we do. So in essence, compliance shouldn't be a serious issue. Okay, like we have what they call them, NAFDAC, ISO, SON, and other regulatory agencies that help us in providing the necessary guidance to guide us in operations. So compliance shouldn't be a hard thing to do. when we don't follow the compliance, or when we are not safety compliant, we are bound to have safety issues, those regulatory fines, those closing down of businesses and all of that. They are bound to happen. Now, I read a particular case study from a book some times ago. I'm not going to call the name of the company, and I'm not going to call the country, but I'm not going to call the product either. But this particular company, they were into production of juice. They were into production of juice, and their special market was children. Their special market was children. Okay. So when they started, they were known for quality. Yeah, they were verified and stamped to be safety compliant as regards to the production area, the nutritional content of what they were giving to children. So parents had the assurance that their children were getting the necessary vitamins and perhaps some other basic minerals from the supposed fruit juice they were taking, okay, or supposed formula, fruit juice formula they were taking. Now, at some point, this particular company was picked up by some fellow who claimed that the company was no longer serving the purpose of the public, but was now serving their own purpose. What does it mean? They deviated from the compliance rules. They deviated from the food regulatory provisions for production of such food formulation or such food drink formulation for children. And they were now combining colors and sweeteners, colors that looked like what the children were used to. And children were busy drinking it. They were all serving flavors. They were all serving mixtures of different colors, serving mixtures of different sweeteners to children. And some of the children started showing some ill behaviors or some ill manifestations. And that was what made the fellow to start suing the company. And by the time they had taken the lots of what was in the market and tasted it, and they found out that there was no nutritional benefit to it. There was no longer any nutritional, all the nutritional benefit have been exempted from the food. And that company, apart from the fact that they had to pay for all of those damages caused to those children, the company had to pay for extra damages as to violations of the regulatory standard, and the company was still closed. The company was still closed, okay? And nobody's hearing about that company again. So importantly, it is good we follow the safety provisions, the compliance rules and regulations that have been made available by the regulatory and statutory bodies in our own field. So if you're into production, there are some quality and safety requirements that have been laid down for you in the production department. If you're in the service department, the same thing. So the best thing we need to do is to find the guide, the compliance guide for what concerns us, and then make sure we are doing it so that we don't get to fall victim of non-compliance, okay? A compliance focus does not usually create world-class safety results. Yes, it might not create world-class safety results, but at least it will help you in designing the one that will give you the world-class safety result. Chivita and what do you call it? Chivita and Eva. Sorry, is it Eva? Five Alive, rather. By statutory requirement, if you read the two of them, the two of their ingredients, you will find out that they are basically the same thing. The same thing as to measurement, the same things as ingredients, the same things as maybe dosage and all of the requirements needed. But you will find out that the packaging is different. The packaging will not be determined by the compliance standard. It will not be determined by the performance standard. How you formulate those ingredients is no longer a function of the performance standard, but a function of the compliance standard, but a function of the performance standard. The volume you decide to produce is not the compliance that will determine it, it's the performance that will determine it. How much you sell is not performance that will determine it, it is you, it's the performance standard. It's not compliance that will determine how much you will sell. It's not compliance that will determine how many you sell. It's not compliance that will. It is your performance standard that will now determine how you could make a greater difference. All right? And that is very, very important. So why compliance could be reactive rather than proactive and can only address problems after they happen. Performance sets goals and uses past performance to look forward. So to avoid, if all of us are actually performing according to the provisions of the laid down rules and regulations, we will not have non-compliance issues. But where we fail to pay attention to the safety compliance rules and regulations as made available by government or the necessary regulatory agencies available in our own countries, then we'll have issues to face. Okay, so that's very, very important. Now, if the safety standard says that you need to have fire audits, performance should tell you to, okay, train your staff on how to do firefighting and all of that, and then help them to also know how to do go about fire auditing, all right, fire safety auditing, so that it will help. So what it simply means is that when the external body comes to check for fire safety in your organization, you already have highly compliant people, performing staff, performing organization, and you get your inspection results to be excellent, and you're off. All right. All right. Quickly, let's start looking at some of these tools and techniques we use in contractor safety programs, and then let's try to understand them. The first thing we look at here is the iceberg principle. Now, those questions of trailing and what do you call the other one? Those questions of leading and trailing matrix, we could find them. We could start having them from here. We could start having them from here. Okay. So iceberg principle. Iceberg principle is also called the 90-10 principle. Okay, 90-10 principle. The iceberg principle is simple. It says that only 10% of the real problems that we see, or only 10% of the real problems are seen. 90% of the problems might not be seen. So in the process of trying to tell yourself that you are far than the 10% little you're seeing, you will end up lodging yourself into the 90% or seen. And that is where the problem is. We call it the iceberg principle because it was the illustration is from a sea iceberg or sea block or sea mountain. So if you're going to see an iceberg on the sea, you only see just a tiny fragment. And if you're going to use your ship to say you crush the small fragment, the 90% big fragment underneath the sea will crush your ship. And sometimes we hear this phrase that says this is just the tip of the iceberg. That's to tell you that the tip might be small, but what it actually contains is bigger than the tip. So with respect to what we now see, if you look at what we have here clearly, this is just a snapshot of what the sea iceberg looks like. So you see the water levels at the first aid region, you see the water levels. Then up, you see the small fragment of something that looks like cloud, whitish, quite simple. But underneath it, you see a boom of massive ice rock that can scatter anything. Okay, so how does this form? How does this form? With respect to safety in the contractor safety program now, We have what we call the at-risk behaviors. All those behavior of it doesn't matter. No, it's small. You can overlook it. All those small risk, small behaviors, at-risk behaviors that we neglect, they build up. When they build up, we begin to see unsafe acts and unsafe conditions. If we don't treat that yet, it goes to near misses. If we don't treat that yet, we begin to have injuries, we begin to have recordable injuries, recordable cases, where first aid can handle. Then if we don't deal with it, we now start having lost time, injuries that will now result to full lost time. And then if we don't handle it, it will result to fatalities. If you go back to what we did in root cause analysis, okay, cutting or dealing with this problem by cutting off the small tip of the iceberg, obviously you and I know that it won't solve the problem. To solve the problem, we have to go to the root, which is at-risk behaviors. We start dealing with them. The problem of Nigeria is not money. The problem of Nigeria is not Nigeria. I've done some little research about countries of the world, and I could categorically say that Nigeria is the most blessed country in the world with mineral resources and human resources, the most blessed country in the world. So the problem with Nigeria is from each individual in Nigeria, the ignorance and the carelessness of each individual in Nigeria. I was listening to Erify the other day on was it Channels Television, and they were interviewing him. So he said something. He said the problem is that the good people don't want to come into politics, so they left it for the bad people. And since the bad people are in politics, you can't expect anything good from it. If we say we don't want bad governance, so what is our contribution in making it good governance? By 2023, we will still go out and vote again. Some of us will still vote the people we burnt their houses. Some of us will still vote the people we told them point blank, we don't want you, right? So sometimes I wonder whether Nigeria is the city of foolishness and stupidity. Sorry to use those two words, but sometimes I used to wonder, is Nigeria the center for stupidity and foolishness? Because Nigeria is so funny a place. Well, it is, stupidity and foolishness is common to man, but it's like Nigeria is the headquarters. It's like Nigeria is the headquarters. The same people that are fighting of all of this now, by 2023, I won't be surprised if they start bringing bag of rice and this. The same people will start, their brain will start resetting to something else. At the end of the day, we'll still come back to bad governance. See, let me be very sincere with you. There will be nothing wrong if you pick up the mantle tomorrow and say you're coming out for House of Rep in your constituency. Nobody's going to stop you from that. Okay, you're going to come out for councillor. If you really want to do it well, you should be part of the move. You should reject the things you don't want to accept. All of these at-risk behaviors, all these 20 naira campaign, 100 naira campaign, 1,000 naira Maggie, and all of that, we should try as much as we can to avoid it. We need to take responsibility. You know, I also ask myself another question. I don't know how many of us that have watched all the recorded videos of those carrying palliatives. You see multitude. When I mean multitude, it was like a whole state was coming out. Multitude. Hi. That is to tell you the depth of poverty in Nigeria. The depth of poverty in Nigeria. You see, all these poor people feel like it doesn't matter. Leave them, it doesn't matter. They are part of the problem of Nigeria. And that problem is still a function of bad governance, bad leadership, bad governance. So all these at-risk behaviors, we need to face them squarely and deal with them so that we can have better government, better workplace, better people. See, should I tell you something? Poverty is a very dangerous thing. Someone once said during the COVID period, he said the problem is not what Nigerians are suffering from is not COVID-19. Nigerians are suffering from poverty, from hunger. It looked as though it was a joke then, but it wasn't a joke. That's reality. Nigeria is ranked, is it the third poorest country, the third poverty capital of the world. There was somehow they used to put it. The truth is that there is actually poverty in the land. There is real poverty. If you can feed yourself 1, 2, 3 in a day, or even 1, 2 in a day, please, there are people, millions, if not in tens and hundreds of millions outside there that don't know what is food. Now, sorry, I'm talking about Nigeria, and I know it is a good case study for what we are dealing with now. So if you're not a Nigerian, please bear me some excuse. How many of us have visited the north before? You visited the north or you stay in the north. So we talk about the Amajiris. You've been to the north, you've talk about the Amajiris. Why Boko Haram is still recruiting and recruiting and recruiting and recruiting is because of the availability of raw material called Amajiris. Amajiri, as a matter of fact, is a well-structured recruitment ground for terrorism in Nigeria. Now, those Amajiris, they mean no harm to Nigeria. But by the time the evil hands recruit them and start forcing them to do what they don't want to do, using drugs and all of that to change their mind, change their orientation and all of that, they will do and undo. So all of those issues, all of these small things will feel like they don't matter. Amajiri is a case in Nigeria, whether we believe it or yes. Begging on the street, whether it's Amajiri or not, is a case in Nigeria. And we need to understand these things. Should Nigeria make provision for social security, Amajiri will not be on the street. People will not be begging on the street. So we have a way we could deal with this, but we are not dealing with them. Okay, now let me even ask you. How can you look at a population that has almost 80 million, 60 to 80 million of its populates that are youths, and you tell them that you give them 20,000 naira? Minimum wage is proposed to be 30,000, and you're proposing 20,000 for them. 20,000 to do what? 20,000 to some of us that actually travel. 20,000. Okay, let's make it simple. 20,000 cannot fuel your car completely from Abuja to Lagos and you come back. 20,000 will lead you to maybe Ondo State. You buy another fuel to continue. That's just to make a journey. And you're trying to tell me that one of the ways to curtail poverty is to give someone, what they call it, 20,000, and then after 20,000, what next? We need to have people like National Orientation Agency. We need to hold them responsible because those guys are not working. Those guys are not working. They are not doing anything in Nigeria. They are not doing, I don't know why that ministry is still there. National Orientation Agency, at this moment where poverty is so high in the nation, we should be preaching entrepreneurship every nook and cranny. We should be preaching funding for entrepreneurs. We should be, not, when I mean funding, I don't mean this funny one they say is COVID palliative. You say you give people 20, 30,000, 50,000. What will 20,000, 30,000 do? And you tell a whole business entity that you will give him a loan of 250,000. 250,000, divide it by, let's do a little mathematics. 250,000 divide by 467, that's $1. 2500 divide by 467, that's like you gave the person a loan of $535 to do what? To do what? Now, for some of us that do online adverts, you just on one advert you could spend $300. Just on one advert you could spend $500. Just on one advert, you could spend $900. So the question is, what in a country where minimum wage is 30,000, if you divide 250,000 by 30,000, that will be like 8 months. Let's assume the company is surviving by 30,000 a month. That will be 8 months. So after 8 months, what happens? Of course, we all are aware that in Nigeria, there is no way 30,000 can sustain a company. Okay, there is no way 30,000 can sustain a company, except it's just me, myself, and I. Okay, so we need to pay attention to all. Wait, how will you give yourself as a senator? You sat down and you gave yourself 229 million naira per month, 29 million per month in the name of allowance and what have you. Then a teacher, you're paying her minimum wage of 30,000. Do you know how much they pay professors in Nigeria? It will shock you. Some professors in Nigeria don't earn up to 350,000. Some professors in Nigeria don't earn up to 350,000. Now, one of my professor friends was telling me the other day, I think his salary is 308,000. Now he said they are going to remove all of this, remove that, remove this. By the end of the day, he's going home with almost 250,000. Now, what will that do? Okay, what will that do? All of these at-risk behaviors need to be taken care of. Okay, all of these at-risk behaviors need to be taken care of. If we want better, well-motivated country, well-motivated workforce, okay, this is very, very important. Okay, this is very, very important, all right? Okay, let's quickly move on. Now, another thing we consider is what we call the performance matrix. So under the performance matrix, we'll have the leading matrix and we'll have the trailing matrix. On the leading matrix, the leading matrix gives you the performing indicator. It shows you the performing indicators. The trailing matrix tell you the ones that are not necessarily giving you the result that you want. Now, I want us to follow this critically. This is another tool we can use for contractor safety programs. Can we use this tool for national reformation? The answer is yes. Can we use this tool for leadership transformation? The answer is yes. Now look at it. What did it say? Say number one, the basic problem in every situation is attitudes, behavior, orientation. That's the basic problem. So what's the attitude to Nigerian kind of leadership? The attitude is me, myself, and I. The attitude is my tribe. The attitude is my religion. The attitude is other tribes doesn't matter. Other religion doesn't matter. Other political parties doesn't matter. The attitude is my political party. The attitude is the money for government is for me alone. Every other person should go to hell. But if we begin to change these attitudes, can we have a better work environment? Can we have better workplace? Can we have better government? The answer is yes. Now, we still see some of these attitudes in our working places. A young man was discussing with me the other day. He was working with the bank and they sacked him. They sacked him. Wow. They sacked him. I was like, wow, why did they sack him? Now, this young man gets to be given a target of about 20 million in a month. Yes, 20. They give him a target of 20 million in a month, and then his salary is 45,000 in a month. Hi, some people, when we talk about this bad governance, please, it's not only government too. It's not only government. Some of us that are employers of labor, it is worse with us. The way we are treating our staff, if we use the same way and treat our government, we even be worse than people in government today. So someone is to get you 20 million and you are paying him 45,000. He said, why? He said he's an NCE holder. So why are you paying? He said that's what federal salary structure says, 45,000 for NCE. The same federal salary structure tell you to give him a benchmark of 20 million for performance to be able to pay him 45,000. That is ridiculous. That is far ridiculous. That's far ridiculous. Every day we are set on target, but no equivalent motivation. And we want those staff to perform better. We on our own need to change our attitudes first before we start changing the attitude of the staff. We need to first of all change our attitude. We need to change our attitude first. Now, should we bring it home a little? Should we bring it home a little? If you're a man here, and this thing I'm going to say concerns you, I don't have any apology, but I must tell you that you're not practicing safety. There are some men, maybe not in this class, but they are real. Some men will not eat their wife's food. They will prefer to eat outside. And they don't eat outside alone. They eat outside they buy food for people. But meanwhile, in their own home, their children don't have what to eat. Anytime your wife tells you, honey, money for welfare, upkeep, that will be like fight all through the day. Some people will give maybe 5,000 naira for 1 week, and they will tell you that's the whole for 1 month. Hey, in fact, there was one my wife was telling me the other day. This man is a mobile police officer. He has 2 wives, 2 good wives, very beautiful women. Now, he gives the 2 of them 10,000 naira in a month. Each of these women has, I think one has about 6 children. The other one has, 4 children? So like 10 children plus 2 wives plus himself. And he gives them 10,000 naira in a month to take care of themselves. Very soon there will be protests in their home. Of course, when they are fighting and breaking their head, you don't ask where is the problem coming from. There is an attitude that needs to be changed. There's an attitude that needs to be changed. Some of us are very good with buying gifts for people, but we can't buy gift for our own wife. We can't buy gift for our own husband. We can't buy gift for our children. You see, I've said so many things in this class. Some of us will go buy wine for our boss, buy wine for our so many things. We buy wine for imam, buy wine for pastor, give money to imam, give money to pastor. But our children are suffering at home. We go and collect chieftaincy title, high chief. You kill 7 cows, and after everything, nothing is happening. Those attitudes need to be changed if we must have a better community. Those are the at-risk behaviors that are resulting to national mayhem. Okay, resulting to national mayhem. I was reading on newspaper the other day of a particular emir that died. And they said the emir has, is it 700 children or so? 700 children or so. He has 91, is it 91 wives? I couldn't stop laughing. You have over 700 children, 91, about 91 wives. How will you take care of them? How will you even know your children? The elderly son was saying something about the father. He said his father used to tell children when they are playing in his house, maybe in the night, he'll tell them, please, you people should go back to your father's house. Okay. And the children will reply, Papa, we are your children. Okay. 91 wives, 700 plus children. How do you want to manage that? All of those are risk behaviors, cultural deviations, cultural issues that are bringing problems. We need to change our attitudes to those things. Okay, if we must have national development, the same way we'll bring those things to our working place. Some of us here will have, is it what they call them? Is it maids? Maid. Yes, maids. Some of us take care of ourselves, take care of our children. But the maid that came to your house since 4 or 5 years ago, the clothes he or she came with is the same clothes he or she is still wearing. The maid does everything that is meant for everybody. but yet she gets nothing in return. Some of us go ahead beating them, dealing with them, or mercilessly. We see all of those things on social media every now and then. And we still want to talk about how good we are, how safe we are. Those attitudes are bad attitudes. They need to be changed. If you don't need a maid, if you can't take care of a maid, don't bother taking a maid. By taking a maid, you're adopting another person's child as your child. So if you're not ready to call that person a child and treat him or her as a child, then keep to yourself. Handle your issues by yourself. Okay, handle your issues by yourself. So these attitudes need to be changed. And whenever attitude needs to be changed, it always has to start from the top. So in the organization, it has to start from top management. If it's from the family, it has to start from the father. From nation, it has to start from the presidency. They need to do all these things. So how do we now change these attitudes? First, set up program elements. These program elements could be on training, accountability programs, communication programs, planning and evaluation program, roles and procedures program, incident investigation programs. Then set up physical conditions to ensure that these programs are delivering. Physical conditions as inspection, audits, risk assessment, prevention and control. Then check out the behavior at the end of the day, whether there is results. How do you check? You check through observations, check through feedback. Now, if the behavior or the result that you see at the end of the day is what you actually set up to achieve, was the goal you set out to achieve, then we could say that that program, the whole process or the indicator is a leading indicator or leading metrics. Now, in a case it is deviating, you've done all the whole programs, put up all the physical conditions, and the behavior is deviant from what was set up, that will become a trailing matrix or trailing indicator or non-performing indicator. All right. Okay, so let's quickly find a way to begin to round up now. I don't want to take much time today so that we can go and rest and prepare for work tomorrow. All right. Performance indicators. Performance indicators can help you understand how well your contractor safety program is working. Identify performance indicators that are simple and understandable, objective, measurable, and relevant to what you are trying to achieve. That is the objectives and targets. Now, when you're setting up performance indicators or when you're setting up contractor safety programs, one of the things you must do, or one of the things that is paramount in your heart, is to expect excellence. Now, what is excellence in this case? Excellence is one, performance focus, which in terms of safety is all about zero injuries achieved through proper management systems, commitment, and quality performance. We have talked about safety management system, effective safety, HSE management system. So you may need to revise your notes to find out what that is all about. We've also talked about quality systems in operations. You may also need to revise your note to find out what those things are about. What's performance focus? All about timely incident reporting, near miss reporting, high quality analysis of incidents to find the root cause analysis or investigations. Then safety is never sacrificed for production or cost. Systems for achieving contractor safety program will have contractual safety requirements, which are make working safely a condition of contract, make contractors aware of expectations that all safety and environmental incidents are preventable, hold contractors responsible and accountable for preventing injuries, involve contractor employees, then monitor and audit safety plans and compliance. And I'm sure by now we know how to monitor and audit safety plans and compliance because we've dealt with all of that. Monitoring and measuring enables an organization to evaluate safety performance, assess compliance with legal requirements, analyze root causes of problems, identify areas requiring corrective actions and or improve performance and increase efficiency. Now we have what we call the safety excellence model. What is the composition of safety excellence model? Number one, we have management commitment. Number two, we have employee involvement. Number three, we have safety and health site leadership. And then we have systems. So let's look at what each of them really means. Management commitment here means valuing and caring for human resources, demonstrating a visible commitment with continuous involvement, setting high expectations and accountability for safety, motivating proper behaviors through leadership. Like, we need to walk the talk and not talk the walk. Providing resources to affect change and encouraging employee involvement. What does employee involvement mean in safety excellence model? It means shared ownership and commitment to the program. The contractor need to have some levels of autonomy given to the employees as regards to work discretion and some of the things that need to be done discreetly. All right. Active support of the program, accountability for one's personal safety and that of his or her co-workers. Ways to involve employees, regular communication with employees on the subject of safety, risk, and hazard, provide access to information, provide ways to participate in the program. Example, work site self-inspections, safety and health annual evaluation process, incident investigations. Now, provide ways to report hazards, injuries, and make recommendations to control hazards. What does safety and health site leadership mean? Where there are multiple roles, example, leader, facilitator, internal consultant, and change agent, then where there is partner with management, there should also be placement and organizational structure of all of these different people, these multiple roles. There should be placement and organizational structure where the leader, facilitator, or internal consultant, change agent, partner will have to find themselves. There should be authority and responsibility to act when needed. So there should be some levels of autonomy. There should be required knowledge or requisite knowledge, skills, and abilities to have autonomy of work. And these knowledge, skills, and abilities could be on technical expertise or people skills. Safety management systems will have the operational bottom line. Do you know what the safety hazards at your facilities and which ones pose the most risks? Are there people hurt, non-compliance and violations, losses? Do you know what to do about them? Whether people are hurt, non-compliance or violation or losses, do you really know what to do about them? Do you have engineering controls? Do you have contracts, plans, and accountabilities? Do you look forward or do you look for ways to improve performance as you will or as you do with other aspects of your business? Now, quickly, safety systems. Safety systems comprise of the health and safety plan, which will involve safety standards of the company, safety standards for clients, safety standards by agencies, that's compliance, then site practices. It will also, your health and safety plan will comprise of processes and expectations. Your safety system should also comprise of your job safety analysis, your safety briefings, which could be in form of kickoff meetings or toolbox talks. There should be incentives, which could be plus or minus, then site safety improvement, which could be done through audits and safety observations. Performance architecture. What are the building blocks for performance? From the performance architecture, we have culture, we have systems, our behaviors. We have culture, we have systems, our behaviors. So if you look at these systems, behavior, culture, and systems, 3 of them are specific to man. Even all of them are all specific to man somehow. So if we say systems, we can start thinking of technological tools that are being used by man, but even the system is being designed by man. So if actually we must have performance, it must be a generation from the mind, a transformation from the mind of man. What is culture in this case? Management constantly and consistently sends the message that the organization is fully committed to safe work and that incident or accidents are preventable and acceptable. When we begin to run by this kind of culture, it makes everyone proactive. It gives all the employees or makes every of the employees proactive. Then when it comes to system, the organization has management system that ensure that objectives, processes, and resources are adequate and effective and continuously improving. Then behavior. Staff at all levels has the knowledge and are empowered to intervene to support safe work. Safety is everybody's job. Safety is a value in the organization and must be integrated into the fabric of the management process. Final thoughts. Establishing a safety and health culture that leads to superior performance is not only the right thing to do or the socially responsible thing to do, it is also the right economic approach. Reducing workplace injuries and illnesses conserves critical resources and improves the use of those resources. It saves money, avoids unnecessary costs, and ultimately maximizes returns on business investment. This was said by John Henshaw, the Assistant Secretary of Labor of the Occupational Health, Occupational Safety and Health Administration. Now, for the offshore case or offshore safety, when we talk about onshore or offshore, anytime you hear of offshore, offshore are all of those activities that are done in the sea or in the water with regard to oil and gas. So all of the drilling activities are all offshore. The onshore activities are the ones that are done on land. The ones that are done on land outside of the sea, they are onshore. So when we say offshore, we are referring to every activity, oil and gas activity on the sea. Okay, so for oil and gas, we need to pay attention to this. If you have interest in oil and gas, updating your knowledge every now and then is very important. And one of the best ways we could learn is through case studies. We learn from things that have happened in the past so that we ensure that they don't come happening again. So why is offshore safety case training important? Major accidents do happen around the world. Some of them recent have caused us to ask if they can happen to us, and they certainly can. We need to ensure they do not happen to us by re-emphasizing our safety management system, updating our existing field safety case, and ensuring you all know about it. So everyone involved know about it. Operators of offshore installations. Okay, so what is a safety case? Operators of offshore installations want to be sure that the operations are safe and do not expose their people or their business to unacceptable levels of risk. Plant modification, variations on operating conditions, and new ownership mean that the risk picture is changing, and regulators and other stakeholders ask you to justify the continuing operation of the installation through safety cases. Examples of safety case. We have major accidents. We have the UK HSE XC regulation of 2005. A major accident defined by UK HSE is a fire, explosion, or the release of a dangerous substance involving death or serious personal injury to persons on the installation or engaged in an activity or in connection with it. A major accident is an event involving major damage to the structure of the installation or plant affixed thereto, or any loss in the stability of the installation. A major accident is the collision of a helicopter with the installation. When there is a collision of a helicopter with the installation, the failure of life support systems for diving operations in connection with the installation, and any other event arising from a work activity involving death or serious personal injury to 5 or more persons on the installation or engaged in activity in connection with it. Occupational hazards. I know we've dealt with occupational hazard in one of the cases we dealt with. Personal or occupational health and safety hazards can give rise to incidents or accidents that primarily affect one individual worker for each occurrence. Personal injury from slips, trips, and falls, electrical shocks, adverse effects from high noise, heat, dust, or fumes, minor cuts and bruises, and struck by objects. Generally, occupational health are avoided by wearing PPEs and following procedures. Okay, so we know about, in fact, I will recommend everyone here to open to YouTube and type the BP Texas City Refinery fire explosion. Okay, you will get a full documentation of this case, this safety case. 15 people were killed and 180 people were injured. It was a, well, 15 people killed, 180. It was a major accident, obviously, because more than 5 people have been involved. And there have been different orders of collapse and installation disruptions that occurred in this issue. They will also see, please, all of these things are available on YouTube. Just feel free, type them and you'll find them. We have the marine accident of the from the Alpha Action, the ship collision in the Japanese waters, causing major damage. It occurred in July 27, 2007. There were major damages. There were loss of lives. There were loss of properties. Of course, you can see that the ship was already gone. All right. So open your YouTube also and get the full documentary of this case also. It will help. Okay, I'm going to be rounding up on this particular tool, and I will need us to understand it. We call it the bow tie barrier concept. Using safety cases or safety case, in this case as a case study, or learning about safety cases. Are there ways, are there things we could use to avoid those same things we've seen happen to others happen to us? And bow tie barrier concept says yes. Now, bow tie barrier concept, just like the bow tie we use, tells us that there could be a major accident cost if we don't put into consideration some things. Okay, if we don't put into consideration some things. And bow tie says major accidents are caused by hazards. So invariably, we need to identify hazards and try to avoid the events that collaborate with the hazards to lead to major accidents. So where hazards have been identified and major accidents have been identified, the thing is there are events that could collaborate with the hazards. And then at some point, these events are necessary. For instance, you have a car, a collision of a car or accident by car could lead to loss of life. That's right. But we cannot stop driving the car because it has the capacity to kill, or when engaged in an accident, it has the capacity to lead to loss of life. No. What bow tie is then trying to say is that your hazard could still collaborate with the events and circumstances. We could be profitable to you, but why you are collaborating, or why the hazards are collaborating with these events and circumstances, you should put up barriers. You should put up control that will stop that kind of collaboration from resulting to an accident. So for instance, while driving, they will tell you, put on your seatbelt. While driving, they will say, do not drink, do not smoke, do not be making call while on steering. Those are barriers that will stop or will reduce the possibility of accident. Most often too, they will tell us, do not drive with 40 speedometers. Do not drive with 40 speedometers. Do not drive during curfew hours. Do not drive during adverse weather. Those things, if put into consideration, will obviously reduce the possibility of accident. And in in journey management, they will tell you that safety on the road, you are the only one that is responsible for the safety of others on the road. As soon as you enter a steering, you should have it at the back of your mind that you are responsible for the safety of every other person on the road, including yourself. In fact, there is one humorous thing we say in journey management. We'll tell you that in journey management, every other person is insane. You are the only sane person. Every other person is mad. On the road, you are the only person that is not mad. So you must manage yourself and manage those mad people to avoid collisions on the road. So that's very, very important. So in both type barrier concept, it says we could actually put up barriers to stop those hazards and events from resulting to major accident. And it also says in a case where the accident has occurred, there could also be barriers to reduce the consequences of the accident. For instance, if you take the BP Texas fire explosion, yes, the hazard has occurred, there has been a major accident. Can they reduce the impact? Obviously, yes. How could they have reduced the impact? By insurance. How could they reduce the impact in time to come? They reduce it by training, management taking commitment, running safety analysis to find the root cause of what happened, and then taking commitment to ensure that those things are fixed and fixed properly. Okay, so both barrier concept gives you two sides. You could actually take the you could actually be safety compliant or to prevent the accident, or you could be safety non-compliant and then face the accident. At the end of the day, you have to face the consequences of not being safety compliant. And this is where I'm going to call it a day for today. Thank you so much, and thank you for your time, and God bless you real good. All right, so if I have any questions, I'll be taking them right now. You can put your question in the comment section, or you could raise your hand, and then you'll be unmuted to ask your question. But where there is no question, we'll be taking a